Ollie, before you get to the current, start back, well, probably about this point last year, your recruitment to West Virginia. How do you get from Australia to Morgantown, West Virginia?
So I worked with a company back home called ProKick Australia, who pretty much provide Australian punters to American universities, train them up, get them to do the American style spirals, things like that, and just work with them for about a year and a half to 2 years throughout COVID, high school, and just working with them eventually got me the opportunity to come here. And as soon as I heard about it and had a phone call with the coaches, I was pretty much all in and set on coming here. So that was my process of changing from a Australian football player into a American punter.
Other schools involved with you? Other U.S. schools?
We typically don't hear about it back home. We leave that to the coaches who run the program at ProKick. They kind of just handle our day-to-day, talking to coaches and what schools are interested and what schools may not be. So we don't really hear too much about it until it becomes more of a serious thing. But yeah, I'd heard that there were schools being thrown around, but you don't really take anything serious until you start speaking to the coaches from a school.
What's the biggest difference between Australian rules football and football here?
There's a mountain of differences, but I'd say probably the pads and the helmet. They've been an adjustment. They're an adjustment from the start. As I said at ProKick, they train us up, so we had helmets and pads, but nothing compared to what we have here. But it's just different in terms of how the game is played. Like, we play on an oval back home. This is on obviously a rectangular field, so it's just different. But it's been a good adjustment, and I love the sport. So.
You miss being part of the action, ball game.
Yeah, I mean it's different. Like, I always enjoyed kicking the footy, kicking the ball, just as much as possible. So it didn't really matter to me whether I was on the field or off the field. So it's not too much of an adjustment. I do what I love, and that's really it. So I still enjoy it, even though I don't see the field as much.
What does being named Big 12 Special Teams Player of the Week mean to you? And then how do you parse feeling like you had a good game and you're getting recognized in a loss for the team where everyone else is kind of trying to get better?
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, to answer your first part of the question, it's an honour to be named to the Big 12 Special Teams Player of the Week. I wasn't expecting it, honestly. I was just, going out there and doing as much as I could to help the team in the little role that I do have on the field. So it's an honour especially, but I couldn't have done it without my snapper and my coverage unit as well, giving up very little return yards. So I mean, it's an honour, but yeah, to answer your second part, it is tough in a losing effort. You try and focus on the bright spots, but there's always room for improvement, and so it's an honour, but always want to see the team do better. So I'd prefer to not have to punt if that's what means the best for the team. But yeah.
So you're in Australia. You're playing Australian rules football. When do you decide, I'd like to go try that pro kick and see what can happen there? How does that decision come about?
Yeah, so I did a 6-month exchange to high school in New Jersey. Played some American football throughout that time, played basketball. Always wanted to come to the States for college in some way for sports, and didn't know whether it was going to be basketball or American football. And one of my dad's friends used to work with the Buffalo Bills closely, and he had seen me punt a few times and said, look, you might want to give this a go, just if you're interested. If not, then try basketball. But I developed my kicking more and more, and then as I kind of decided that football was going to be my way to get here, ProKick presented itself to me, and I was probably the youngest guy in the program at one point. I was going into senior year of high school, and a lot of the guys in the program were, 20, 25, up until like 30 years old, like Tom Hutton at Oklahoma State. So, going in and trying to learn from those guys and making my way through that was kind of the process of how I decided that I want to get here, and I wanted to come to a school like West Virginia and, play football at a high level.
You're one of 4 punters from ProKick who who are playing on Big 12 rosters. Do you keep up with them, especially going into TCU?
Yeah, so as I said, we train with guys before they come over. So a lot of the guys in the Big 12 actually trained before my time, so they're all finishing up, unfortunately. But, we kind of consider ourselves like a brotherhood at Pro Kick, so we always try and text each other, see how each other's going at each school, tips that we might want, from game to game on how to improve. But, this weekend, TCU, I'll see Geordie, say hello to him and things like that. But you tend to stick with the guys that you trained with while you're at Pro Kick. So, yeah, you do keep in touch.
Obviously, you're the punter. Casey's the kicker. Casey had a kind of a moment there in the game Saturday where he's flopping on the ground there and stuff. And,
Yeah.
you guys, can you judge that technique? Is that something shared between kicker and punter?
The boys have all told me that when I got hit after that Texas a few weeks ago, that I should have flopped to the floor, and so I guess he was just showing me how to do it. But we all had a bit of fun at that. But yeah, he tried to sell it. Unfortunately, didn't work. But move on.
What has the adjustment to Morgantown been like for you?
It was different. I hadn't seen snow honestly until I first got here in January, so that was a big adjustment, dealing with all that, the cold weather. But it's pretty similar to home in a way, in terms of just the community feel. Being a college town is pretty cool. I've never really experienced that in my life, so it was pretty cool to come in and see you around a college every day and get to know the niche areas and things like that. So it's been pretty cool.
Forget that. What was the adjustment from Australian beer to American beer?
I'm not 21 yet, so I can't answer that, unfortunately.
When you were in New Jersey and playing football, I assume you punted, but did you play other positions? Did you punt?
Yeah, so I wasn't allowed to play varsity football in Jersey because of a transfer rule in terms of having internationals come over. I played a JV game, had about 3 or 4 punts, but that was about it for the year because obviously in JV they tend not to want to punt the ball. But I played a little bit of tight end, defensive end, so I enjoyed tight end a lot though, so I think that if I had the chance and I was American from the start, then I would have taken that as my position, but yeah.
What's your basketball background? How deep was that?
Yeah, that was deep. So basketball was my favourite sport growing up. I played at a pretty high level back home, played the varsity roster back home at my school. I'd always loved it, will love it, but it was just something that I had to let go of in terms of being able to play. So just to get over here and do what I felt was the right thing for me. So, I'll always love it and have always enjoyed playing it, but yeah, just had to give it up to.
College potential was greater, more immediate.
Yeah, so that Pro Kick recommends that you drop everything in terms of sports that you may have potential risk for injury. So basketball was one of those for me.
Point guard, shooting guard?
I played a bit of both. Point guard, shooting guard, yeah.
So Pro Kick, you're just kicking. What's the first time you faced a rush like?
So we try to imitate a rush back home, but obviously it's just nothing compared to what it really is here. I'd say the first rush I had was probably back in spring, and you try not to think about it. You try to just make it as simple as possible, but obviously it's in the back of your mind playing. So just getting adjusted to that was definitely something mentally rather than physically, because obviously I know that I have the ability to go at the speed, but it was definitely a mental adjustment, just knowing that I need to be aware but not be scared.
How much American football was on television over there?
You get the big games on ESPN, but it's not frequently shown in terms of, college game day, you don't see a lot of the smaller games unless you seek them out actively. But you see the big games, like the Super Bowl is always on. Typically the college football playoffs are always on. But yeah, ESPN was the main one for me.
When ESPN was first founded, the only thing you could get on ESPN was Australian rules football.
Yeah, I know. My dad's told me that. He said he always found it when he was over here. So yeah, that's pretty funny.
Am I right? Your family moved around. You lived in England even and such. Where have you been, and what's your family? What's your dad do? What's your mom do? Things like that.
Yeah. So my mum's English. My dad's Australian. They met while they were in the States and had me over here, so I'm technically an American citizen, British citizen, and Australian citizen. So we've bounced around from here to England, back home to Australia. But yeah, we've always moved around a lot. We tend to travel, visit family all the time, so I'm used to moving around, and so I think that helped me in being able to adjust being away from my family. But yeah, we've always moved around, so it's kind of just the norm for me now.
Since you said your first love was basketball, were you aware at all of the history of West Virginia Mountaineers basketball and Bob Huggins and all the way back to Jerry West and before that, or have you learned it?
Yeah, since committing, really, I got to learning about West Virginia as a school in general. And when I found out that Jerry West came here, it was pretty cool. Told all my friends back home. And then obviously, as soon as you start looking at basketball here, you hear Bob Huggins' name continuously. So, legend of the game. And, just seeing the guys that come out of the school is pretty cool. So knowing that they came to the same place that you were is pretty cool.
Hey, Oliver, the season's been fine, but it's been like one kick for you. I understand you have 7, 8, 9 different kicks and go with different feet and all that stuff. How comfortable are you with your repertoire? And is it one of those things where just get good at the typical stuff and then expand to, I guess, the trick shots, the other stuff? So
yeah. So, I mean, obviously being able to kick with both feet and being able to kick different styles is an advantage in the sport because you have the option, but whatever's going to produce the best results on the given day. So, I mean, if they need me to roll out left in a certain situation, I'll roll out left. If they need me to kick a spiral, I'll kick a spiral. Like, it just really depends on situationally what's going on. And I think that's just an advantage of being able to do all those different things. So, I don't know, like, it can change play to play, game to game on what I do. So, yeah, it's just whatever the coaches.
Tried to talk them into a fake punt yet and run the ball?
I mean, it's always on the table. But I think they'd leave the throwing up to someone else because that's not one of my strengths, unfortunately. But yeah.
Quick more on background. Your parents, were they in college when they met in the United States, or were they just over here?
Yeah. So Dad went to college in New Jersey. Mum went to college in Massachusetts, and I think they met at some point in between on a trip. And yeah, from that point on, I think they, got to know each other.
And you were born where? What city?
Hoboken, New Jersey.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, just across the river.
Yeah. Yep.
So you said American citizenship,
Yep.
British and
Australian. Yeah. So inherited the British and Australian from my parents being from both countries, and then the American citizenship from being born here.
I guess your passport's probably like a textbook or something.
Yeah, I got a few. Yeah. Makes it easy to get around.
Are we good with Oliver? Thank you, sir.